let's go to the legs now. We'll have the fundamentals out of the way. When we work the legs, we apply the same ideas to them as the arms. They're just much easier to see with the arms. We use analogous terms even though they don't look like pushes and ward-offs. In the legs, let's take the leg you're not standing on. If we rotate it this way, that's Yang. It's like doing this. If we rotate it this way, that's Yin. But again, the legs have two halves. So, suppose we were, well, the upper and lower. Suppose we were to rotate everything out, Yin, like this. And notice the characteristic of rotating everything out is that the Kwa opens, like this. You can also do it while crossed, but you still open the Kwa this way, even though you crossed it. So this upper part of the leg, in other words, rotates out like this. Now, if you step out just a little bit, keep the knee still bent a little bit, but realize by pointing the toe out, well, we have our Yin step. Let's just turn the toe in the other direction. When you do it, make sure it doesn't move the knee. In other words, we only want to rotate back from here down. Up here, we still feel like we're going one way. Here, we're going the other way. This is called a Peng step. If I do the opposite, rotate this in, and then turn this out, this would be on step. Now, Bagua has a great reputation in the martial arts for producing very far-out boxers. And it should. It produces lots of martial skill right away. And a lot of people wonder why this is so, especially since one of the characteristics of Bagua boxers is when you ask them what they do in a fight, they say, I don't know. I just kind of wander around and everybody falls down. In fact, they have large amounts of Jing in the legs. And the reason they have Jing in the legs is because they make them do a very simple thing. They walk in circles. Look how you have to walk in circle. If you walk in the circle is big, well, you'll see what your legs are doing when I make the circle smaller. As the circle gets smaller, you will see that you have to start turning, and what you're doing is just what I just taught you. Yang, Yin, Yang. You're taking the legs and consistently emphasizing the winding. So the smaller the circle gets, the more internal the exercise becomes. That's the real meaning of internal in that case. So these people, in a sense, don't have to have any idea what they're doing. The simple outward form of the exercise is causing them to do the right thing in one sense. And later, it's like, even if they have no idea what's happening, they just turn around. They'll be turning around with all of this acquired Jing in the legs. And it's very, very strong. Now, and then, in fact, while doing these steps and then reversing them so they go the other way, of course, you wouldn't want your legs to only wind in one direction on the left leg and one direction on the right leg. So they make variations, and at the same time, they make palm changes. And frequently, their palm changes are very sophisticated, but they're based much more on a simple idea of just turning the palms this way and that. And then later, the ones who are really good pay more attention to what happens to the elbows through all this. But just by turning the arms this way and turning the legs this way at the same time, even if you have no idea what you're doing and don't even want to become a boxer, if somebody grabs you in the subway, I assure you something you do to them will be far more terrible than what would have happened, before you did this, because your movements contain a huge amount of concentrated force from the whole body instead of just being these linear swings of force, which we'll talk about what that means later. But anyway, that's why it's good for you. Now, by contrast, the movements of Tai Chi are much more difficult to get the right changes in because they're steps that are more linear. You're going forward like this. And in fact, you have situations in which we have the equivalent, instead of yin and yang, of peng and an, which means one part of the leg is rotating one way, one part is rotating the other way. So the general effect of this is to cancel out what you see. So you can duplicate the external movement without any internal change. All of the forms of Tai Chi are like that. They're real easy to screw up and simply turn into like bad Shaolin boxing. So let's look at an exercise that will sort of show you two at least good characteristics in the legs, or important characteristics. If you put the legs farther apart now and bend the knees a certain amount, you have to go down a little lower than you were before. Now, let's say you open at the Kwa, that is, open the knees. You can technically open even wider like this, but let's just, for the sake of showing what's going on, just open them this wide. But they're still open. Now, if we were to open the feet as well, we would have a most unfortunate position that no one ever stands in the martial arts, a double yin position. So in this position, look what's happening. Your knees are going one way, your toes are going another way. They're not lined up with the knees. If we simply keep the knees where they are, and now turn in the toes and to line them up, we have the position that's called the horse stance. The horse stance is called this because in its classic form it looks like you're riding a horse. But in fact, the horse stance refers to any situation in which the knees are aligned with the toes. Yes. So this is also a horse stance. Although many people wouldn't use it to characterize the horse stance, but technically it's a horse stance. In Shaolin, in fact, they have a very salutary idea. That's to always keep both knees aligned with the toes, all the time. Keeps all the positions extremely strong. But it also, for certain reasons, makes it hard to move. Now, so if we're standing in this, we have yin on the top, yang on the bottom. This is called pung of the legs. It's like this. Let's say we're going to shift from one leg to the other. And in shifting from one leg to the other now, we're not only going to keep this straight, we're going to counteract it by turning a little this way. So I'll go on this side, just make the same direction as everyone else. Then we're going to come back, go the other way. Come back. Okay, now, if you'll notice a peculiar thing about my movement, this is what I want you to copy. Only one knee moves at a time. All right, now it's the right knee is going to stay in position. Move myself to it like this and turn. Left knee collapses. Stays in position. I go back to the middle. Now, left knee stays in position. The right knee collapses. And this comes back. What I'm doing is consciously controlling the body with one leg at a time, very carefully, and I'm doing it with these winding movements that keep the knees from simply, here's the movement I don't want. Well, this is a characteristic of bad boxing. When you see people move and their knees wobble along with their movement. When the knee is stable, it's like for you to fall down, this has to fall down first, and then the rest of you can fall down.